Alright, so Blox Fruits has changed over the updates within the recent months, so today I'm going to go over every single fruit that is really overpowered for grinding / leveling up within every single sea in the game. So whether you're in the first sea as a completely new beginner, or you're within the third sea as a more experienced player, this video will help you, trust me. Okay, so starting at number 3 on this list, we have this guy right here, the Ice Fruit. Now, the reason I chose the Ice Fruit is because this fruit, low-key, is really broken for the first sea. Not only is it super easy to get from the Blox Fruit gacha, but also the Blox Fruit dealer also has a very high chance of selling this fruit every so often, because, again, it's not rare, it is probably one of the easier fruits in the game to get your hands on. But apart from getting the fruit and how easy it is, the abilities are also quite strong, but that's not really why it's super OP. The main part is the fact that it gives you a weapon with the fruit, which only a few fruits in the game actually do, and turns out those are really, really OP for leveling up. The reason the weapons are so overpowered is because they actually level off your Blox Fruit stat instead of your melee or sword stat, which means you can level up your Blox Fruits and deal more damage with your abilities while also actually having a melee weapon as well that deals a bunch of damage. So, really broken. But as you can see, the melee weapon is really, really cool, and it is also kind of broken, but again, that is not the only reason. Another reason I really like this fruit is because when enemies try to attack you in the first sea, you can see these ice particles coming out of me, and that is because this fruit is a Logia fruit. And if you don't know what that means, it basically means enemies without aura on their hands. See this little black glowing part on my hand? That is aura. Enemies without that cannot deal damage to you basically at all unless they're way higher level than you. Now, most enemies in the first sea don't have that ability, so they can't deal damage to you unless, again, they're way higher level than you. And third, but finally, the last ability the Ice Fruit has is the ability to stand on water, which is kind of cool. This does drain a fair bit of energy though, so just be careful. It's not the most useful ability, but it does help a little bit. Alright, so number 2 on my list, we have the Blade Fruit. Now, the reason I have the Blade Fruit here is because this fruit, low-key, incredibly underrated. It is so overpowered. Not only is this fruit literally the third most common fruit in the entire game, just behind Spin and Rocket, you can clearly see this fruit is not hard to get whatsoever. Okay, so let's look at the actual abilities and why Blade Fruit, in my opinion, is extremely broken. The first ability is kind of like a dash. It's not the best, but it does help a little bit. The second ability, though, however, is Blade Dance, and Blade Dance is awesome. It basically means you can AoE enemies, like group them up, and then kind of use that as like an AoE. The second ability is also kind of like another dash attack, which again, not the best, but it is kind of useful. And the last ability lets you fly, which is really good for islands like the Sky Island when you just want to climb up and not have any issues with jumping all the way up, and can be a great utility to have. But the main reason this fruit is here is not only because it's really easy to get, because it also has a weapon built into the kit that is kind of similar but way, way better than the Ice Fruit. As you can see clearly here, you can actually spam these abilities just by clicking your screen while holding the Blade Fruit, and that will basically allow you to just blitz through any targets, which is super overpowered. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that the Blade Fruit is similar to Logia Fruits, but any weapon or any user who is trying to use a sword against you like this cannot deal any damage to you. So it is pretty overpowered, not gonna lie, because most enemies have swords. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, and the best fruit for the first sea, in my opinion, it's gonna have to be the Light Fruit. Not only are the abilities incredibly strong, but the main reason I chose the Light Fruit is because it's also a Logia fruit, which means these enemies cannot deal any damage to me, but it's also that it has, you know, a weapon built into the kit like the other ones, and it has the ability to fly very, very fast. This flight ability is one of the fastest in the entire game, and the first sea happens to also have the most amount of islands in every single sea compared to the rest. So that makes it a great option for sort of just getting around the map and basically finding your way around the islands, because I remember when I was back in the first sea, I was lost. I got lost very, very easily. This game is pretty big, and it can be kind of confusing, so just keep that in mind. Light Fruit, definitely the best fruit for the first sea. It's also not that rare, as you can see. It's not that much further up than Ice. It is a little bit more rare, maybe a little bit more harder to get your hands on, but you can definitely still get it, so don't worry. Okay, so welcome to the second sea. This is where things get a little bit more different, and also fruits start to get a little bit harder. So the fruits from now on are going to be a little bit more rare because, you know, you progress through the game a little bit more. You should hopefully have had some better luck. But we're going to start with the Magma Fruit. Now, in my opinion, the Magma Fruit is an excellent fruit for leveling up because the abilities are incredible, and it is, of course, yet again, another Logia fruit. These guys cannot deal damage to me, as you can clearly see. But the reason I like the Magma Fruit is because the abilities leave behind this kind of like lava, which can then, you know, actually damage enemies or grouped up enemies that are in it, which is really OP. And I think this fruit is a great option if you are kind of sick of using the weapon fruits and you want a kind of change of pace. This fruit also kind of has the ability to fly, so it is kind of good. It is not a great flight, but you know, any fruit with a flight is kind of useful. And also staying on topic with the ice fruit, it can also kind of stand on water, and that is pretty cool. I mean, again, not the most useful ability, but you know, it's nice to have. Okay, so now we're stepping into the realm of very rare fruits, because Blizzard is a rare fruit, and I'm gonna say it's definitely the number 2 spot for the second sea in my opinion, because it has some excellent AoE, and it is also a Logia fruit, which is less important in the second sea, as I said before, but it can still help you a little bit. But the reason I like the Blizzard fruit is because when you group up enemies like this, like let's say I want to group all these enemies up, you know, group them up like this, group him up over here, right, and then I'll group this final enemy up over here, you can drop the ultimate ability, which is the Blizzard domain, like this, and it will just absolutely smash anything inside of that and completely wipe it from the face of existence, and it is an excellent fruit for just clearing out big groups of enemies in my opinion. And the other abilities are no slack either. I mean, these shurikens are really cool, the whiteout ability is excellent, and the howling winds as well is really OP, as you can clearly see. And it also has a flight ability which deals damage, and you can kind of just sit on top of enemies and make them deal damage and kill them. It's really cool. So definitely get your hands on Blizzard fruit if you can, and if you're in the second sea. Let's talk about the best fruit in the second sea, and I think we all saw this one coming. It's going to be the Butterfruit. The Butterfruit is absolutely broken, always kind of has been broken, and the reason it's so overpowered is because of this transformation. This transformation basically allows you to get extended range on your like abilities or your attacks, on your swords, on your melee, on basically anything that can just click the screen and deal damage. As you can see, you don't even really have to try. You can just walk up and deal a ton of damage to enemies like this and just wipe them out super fast. Now, the Buddha doesn't really offer much else apart from taking reduced damage while in the big, you know, shifted form, which is why it is so broken. Not only do you take barely any damage, but you also can have the extended range. Buddha is always king, but it is extremely boring to use, I'm not gonna lie. After a while of using Buddha, you're probably gonna want to jump out your window, so I would probably recommend trying other fruits, but let's move across into the the third sea. Let's do that. Alright, let's talk about one of my favorite fruits in the game, and that is going to be the gas fruit. Now, I love the gas fruit, and it is the number 3 spot in the third sea, and it has a pretty good reason to be there. The gas fruit has M1s built into the kit, as you can see. They are really cool as well, but the abilities also kind of match the M1s really well, as you can sort of combo with them, as you can see. It is really strong. The M1s do more damage than I think most M1s in the game, but I think it just has a little bit too much knockback to sort of say it's the best. I know a lot of people highly rate this one because of how good the M1s are and how good the combo potential is, but again, I think it's a little bit overrated in terms of how good the M1s really can be, as they just knock back enemies a little bit too much. But this is also a Logia fruit, which means you can't be damaged, but again, this is very like not that useful in the third sea, as most enemies will now have Haki and it won't matter that much, but is a little bit of a nice thing to have if you know, want it. Another thing the gas fruit can do is transform into this like bigger form of itself, but again, the knockback is kind of crazy, but it has really good AoE in this form, so that's like kind of the benefit that you do get, is you get really crazy AoE, which can be great for leveling up. Again, this fruit is probably the 3rd strongest in my opinion, but yeah, I think it just falls short of the other 2 I'm going to show you in a minute. Alright, this is probably not a surprise to many people, but in my number 2 slot, I have the Kitsune fruit. Now, the reason I have the Kitsune this high for grinding and leveling in the game is just because it's absolutely insane at literally doing everything. There is really not a single thing this fruit cannot do. It does PvP really well, you can level really well on it, you can do sea events, you can do quests, you can do objectives like Race V4 and stuff like that really easily. And just combine that with it also being one of the fastest fruits in the game, it is super nice to get around on this fruit, and you can even make it faster if you use something like the pilot helmet. For example, if I put this on, I am now way faster than I was before. It is absolutely broken. And in my opinion, the M1s on this fruit are just way better than the gas fruit because they just do more damage. And they also have this weird lock effect, which which I don't think many M1s have in the game. As you can see, when I attack this enemy, I can kind of move them where I want to. Like, if I attack them over here, I can turn them completely around if I want to. It's broken. You can't miss. The Kitsune also has AoE abilities like this, which do burn over time, which is really broken and good for killing group enemies. And of course, it has a transformation, which is extremely fast when you have the pilot helmet on. As you can see, I put the pilot helmet on, and this thing is speedy. It can run on water. It can get you around the map. It is a just great overall fruit to have, and I seriously recommend, if you want one fruit that can do everything, try get your hands on a Kitsune. The only downside to this fruit is that it is quite literally the second rarest fruit in the game. And why am I in the ground? What has happened? Well, boys, the king has not been dethroned, because my number one slot in the third C is also going to go to what I gave it in the second C, and that is the Buddha fruit. The Buddha fruit has been, and I think will always be, the best fruit for leveling up and grinding, as it sort of can just do everything again. Like, it's just broken, bro. Like, this is me using my sword to kill things, and I have, like, 1 level in sword. Like, that is broken. If I go over here and kill things with my, like, melee, as you can see, I do more damage. Like, it's just crazy, bro, how broken this fruit is for just leveling up. But again, it kind of makes you want to blow your brains out, because it is a little bit boring to use. But I know people want this fruit not to be the best fruit in the game, and they say gas is better or Kitsune is better. I just don't think that's true, though. I think Buddha is sort of the best leveling up grinding fruit in the game, just because, as I said, it just does kind of most things like perfect. It's just so good. And another thing about this fruit over like something like gas is you can see it's only a little bit above light fruit in rarity. It's not the most rare fruit in the game. It's like mid-tier in rarity, but as you can see, as we go further up and further up, gas fruit is right at the top in terms of how hard it is to get, which is why I just don't think this deserves to be at the number 1 spot. And same with Kitsune. It is literally the second rarest fruit in the game, and I just don't think that in terms of leveling up, it's the best. Not even close. Most players will not even get their hands on a Kitsune or a gas fruit by the end of their leveling experience, and to be honest, that kind of sucks, but it's just the way the game works, and most people will be able to get their Buddha way before they're even able to hit the third C if they play the game a lot, and they're careful, and they look at the blocks fruit dealer a lot. You'll be able to get your hands on a Buddha pretty easily. Anyway, guys, I hope this video helps you out a little bit, whether you're in the first, second, or third C, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.